channel and welcome to episode 34. Today we're going to look at something that's going to help with that hazy, foggy look.
Oh, hey, yeah, that's great. I mean, normally I just have 8 to 10 cups of coffee, but hey, I'm up for something new.
On your headlamps is what I was about to say.
Oh, okay, good. Because I really wasn't that open to giving up my coffee.
Yeah, I really wouldn't be either, Keith. So to accomplish this dehazing, we're going to use a couple of MeGuiar's products that are designed specifically for this process.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of MeGuiar's before, or MeGuiar's, whatever it is. But I'm curious, I just have to ask, why do we need 2 products for this? Why 2?
Fantastic question, Keith. So we're going to use, as our step 1, the MeGuiar's TimeLapse product for cleaning and polishing the headlamp. So that's going to remove the dirt and grime and oxidation and that discoloration that you see that builds up over time. Once we've removed all the haze and built up oxidation using that TimeLapse product, we'll then use the MeGuiar's Headlight coating solution. You can think of it as almost like a sealer for wood to seal in our results for up to 1 year of protection.
Interesting, yeah. So it sounds like this is going to be a bit of a process.
Potentially, yes. So depending on the amount of haze that's built up and the manufacturer's plastic that they've used, this could take some elbow grease and some time and multiple applications of the cleaning/polishing product.
Okay, yeah. So I guess depending on the current state of your headlights, right, and also on the materials that they're made out of, this could go one of 2 ways. This could be potentially very easy, or potentially it could be a lot of work.
Keith, that's exactly right. So to illustrate my unscientific observations, the Honda minivan's headlights were extremely oxidized, very cloudy, and a lot of work to address. So whatever they do from a material science perspective on their headlamps, it's much more difficult than the Toyota Camry that I also treated for my daughter. So I can show you the results, but literally the Camry probably took half the time or less of the Honda Odyssey.
Yeah, well, if you have a minute, I could offer some background on the material science of these different plastics to attribute the different characteristics of how...
Sorry to cut you off, Keith, but I think for this episode, we're probably good here, and maybe we should just jump into the actual process itself.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I guess I just got spoiled a little bit because I did get to go full geek back in episode 31 on the Michelin Cross Climate 2 tire review, which was a lot of fun.
Sorry, Keith. We really like to save those valuable moments for those really, really important topics in episodes.
Why does it feel like you're patronizing me?
Are you kidding? I would never do that to you.
Okay, now I know you definitely were. So, anyways, let's go ahead and jump on into the process.
Sounds good. So, if you've ever done any kind of car waxing, buffing, anything like that type of process, this is very, very similar. So, we've got basically a polishing compound that has very small particles embedded, and then the base of the product actually chemically deals with the oxidation. You apply multiple coats of the compound onto the headlamp, buffing that surface over and over until you finally reach a result that you're happy with.
Yeah, and because we're dealing with plastic, it really can't be too abrasive or else it's going to leave scratch marks.
That's absolutely true. So they do make some products that are like the various grades of sandpaper. So if one grade isn't going to do it and you have a little bit more oxidation and you have to deal with that, you can utilize that versus having to put in a bunch of extra effort.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I get what you're saying. I think in those instances, you might actually scratch the plastic quite a bit to get that base layer of oxidation completely off, but then you would be forced to go through multiple successive iterations of more scratching just with finer and finer grit compounds. So I guess that's what you're saying, but in your case, what you've opted for is more of a one and done type of approach where you're just getting the base layer off with a fine grit and then polishing.
Exactly. Now, fortunately for me, the Honda Odyssey was borderline in terms of how bad the hazing and oxidation was. So I just decided that, really, if I needed the other product, I would just make up for that with extra elbow grease, and that ended up being kind of the case, as it was definitely a lot more effort on that versus the Toyota Camry.
Yeah, I think this is what you were alluding to before when we were talking about this, that the Honda took literally twice as much effort as the Toyota did.
That's exactly right. So going into it, I really didn't know that was going to be the case. I would say that the Toyota and the Honda look to be very similar in terms of the level of oxidation and the haze that was present on the particular headlamps. But once I actually completed both of them, I have to attribute it to the materials that are used. The Toyota was significantly easier. It took me about half the time that the Honda did. And I don't think it was so much that I learned so much from doing the Honda first and was able to apply that to the Toyota. I think it was clearly just, from an effort perspective, it just took a lot less effort for the product to remove the haze on the Toyota versus the Honda. So I can only chalk that up to the material science there.
Okay, cool. So let's roll some time lapse of the process from start to finish. And then maybe at the end we can put some before and after up side by side.
Tell that the results are pretty dramatic looking at the before and after. Matter of fact, prior to treating both the lenses, my wife and my daughter were complaining about the output of their headlamps. After they were treated, they were both really blown away with how much brighter their headlights were. So it actually ended up being kind of a safety issue.
Yeah, that really is a major improvement from what I can see. And besides just the safety aspect that you were talking about, I can imagine too, that if you go through the car wash and you're getting your car all dolled up and you see these dingy yellow crappy lights, that your car just never looks good, right? So I can imagine there's a psychological aspect of having a nice, crisp, clean light package as well. But from the video, what is this KeepClear product all about that you were showing? Is that really necessary?
Oh yeah, thanks for reminding me. So I would consider the clear coating or that KeepClear as an absolutely essential element of the process. So here's the thing. I was borderline disappointed with the results after I had done all of this buffing on the Honda. There was some elements that I just couldn't get exactly the way I wanted to. And I'd kind of reached the point where I was a little frustrated, and I was like, you know what? I've been doing this for over an hour. I'm done. You know, both arms were tired because I had to switch back and forth because all the buffing was tiring both arms out. And I just decided, you know what? It is what it is. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the clear coat stage. And so I did. And when I did, the results were really dramatic. It actually fixed a lot of the areas that I didn't finish, you know, through the buffing process and didn't feel I could get any better with at least the product I had in front of me.
Wait, so you're telling me you went to the KeepClear coating stage and you didn't have the lamps perfect yet?
More or less. It was just taking longer than I ever imagined, and as I said before, I was just done. I had even rehearsed the speech to my wife, letting her know that this is just as good as it gets. So then I started putting on the clear coat treatment, and something magical happened.
Hey, I love it when the magic happens. But by the way, can we just stop the pretense here? We know that's not the first time you've rehearsed the whole "this is as good as it gets" speech with Cindy, all right? But the magic is happening with this product, and I'm all in on that.
You and me both. So the slightly imperfect areas suddenly were looking great. After a couple of coats of the clear coat, really the headlamps looked almost new.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. And really the clear coat product is just designed to preserve the results from the buffing product, isn't that right?
Exactly. So think of it much like the clear coat that you'd put on paint or on a stain on wood. It's designed to be a protective shield to keep your lenses clear longer. So there must have been some magic under that cap.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Did you just pull out a deep cut from Frosty the Snowman?
No, of course not. So along with providing the clear coat protection, it also masks some of the imperfect results you get from the buffing process. Now I would caution on trying to push that effect too far. I was able to mask some imperfections that I had had in the results, but I wouldn't really want to push that, you know, to the limits. Because the product did mask some of those imperfections, that's why I would say this is a step you absolutely should complete.
Yeah, great. So before we talk about any kind of seal of approval, let's talk about how much this costs, right? In terms of actual cost in money, but also in time. In other words, you know what I'm getting at. Was this really worth it?
Great questions. So the cost of the plastics clear plastic cleaner and polish is $6.47 right now on Amazon. The cost of the sealant solution is $8.44. It took me about an hour and a half or so to do the Honda minivan, and it took me about 45 minutes to do the Toyota Camry. Both those times that I've noted included time to mask off the areas around the headlamps, which I absolutely recommend you do, because when you go to spray that protectant on there, you don't want to get that onto your paint.
Yeah, that's pretty good actually. So you're talking about roughly $15 and 2 hours time for two cars. That's pretty good. That's even if your only motivation was to make your car look sweet, I think that's already a good value. But really, we're talking about safety, right? Being able to see the road more clearly. That's a safety issue, and you know, now the cost equation in my book is kind of a no-brainer. But I can't help but think about the future, right? Vehicles are becoming electrified, and in the future, more and more cars are going to become autonomous, right? Or at least at some level of autonomy. And to pull that off, there's going to be sensor packages all over the vehicle. They're getting put, you know, behind the rear view mirror, integrated into the side view mirrors, integrated into the grille, and, wait for it, integrated into the light assemblies themselves. So think about it. What you've just done, Bruce, is to make your vehicle more safe for you to be able to see. That's also going to apply to the sensor packages embedded inside of the light assemblies themselves, right? So I think this cost equation is going to become more important in the future because these headlight assemblies are going to become more expensive, riddled with not just lights, but also sensor packages. So imagine what's going to happen in the future if your autonomous drive system needs service, right? Maybe it's something that you can do for $20 and 2 hours, as opposed to taking it to the dealer because some warning light came on your vehicle to say, hey, you have to replace your entire headlight assembly for, I'll make up a number, $500 or $600, right? If you're out of warranty, which face it, if your headlights have oxidized, you're probably out of warranty, or it's more likely you will be. I'm over-explaining it, but I think this value equation is very powerful.
And honestly, I think I have enough of both products left over to do at least 3 more cars. Now, I did have a couple of bucks in the applicator pads, but these things are cheap. And I had some microfiber cloths on hand already, and I'd highly recommend using those for the polishing part.
Fair enough. So how about we take one more look at each of these products before we decide to give either of them our seal of approval.
So here you go. Here's what both the Toyota and the Honda looks like before and after.
Hey, so good to see you.
So your thoughts on the seal of approval?
Well, I'd have to say, I think it earned it. I think yes. And Nessa actually woke up out of her slumber to agree with me. What do you think, Bruce?
I agree. So the Honda was a real challenge, but turned out great. The Toyota was an absolute breeze, and it also turned out great.
All right, so there you have it. 2 seals of approval.
Absolutely. And now it's time to seal up this episode.
Wow, that was bad. Bruce, you didn't even put the air quotes up when you said seal up this. Anyway, that was bad. We need to work on our transitions. But you're still here. Thank you for watching this episode. And how about giving us a like for the effort?
How about a little something, for the effort,
Yeah, and while you're down there by the like button, why don't you just slide over just a bit and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Don't worry, we won't tell your friends.
Yeah, and finally, hit that bell to get notified of new content. And for Keith and Bruce and Nessa, we'll see you next time on another episode of Dad's Talk Tech.